I don't know if you have ever eaten your cornflakes, but I know as a kid, I ate many, many, many of these cornflakes for breakfast, and sometimes for snacks in the afternoon, and I ate so many of these cornflakes. How many of you ate cornflakes this morning? But how many of you have ever eaten cornflakes? Okay. Nice, soggy cornflakes. Well, I got so fed up with them, I said, the revenge of the cornflakes. And I decided I was going to make up some old cornball jokes. So you're going to be the recipient of some cornball jokes that I'm going to share with you tonight. Like, for example, do you know what kind of cornball jokes appeal to mass culture? Popcorn. Okay, all right. Well, that's too squeaky clean for you. Think about the kind of dirty movies that cornballs make. Corn pone. Like that one better, huh? You ever seen a cornball make love? They covulate. Okay. I hope that didn't rub you the wrong way. But while we're on the subject of cornball erotica, you know what kind of cornball dirty joke is really in your face? Corn on the cob. Now you know what happens if you rub a cornball the wrong way? It's like going against the grain. We don't want to do that. Well, speaking of grain, you know who cornballs think of as the Great Spirit? John Barleycorn. I know you're moaning. You know why you're moaning? Because you don't want to laugh at these cornball jokes, but you really can't dismiss them. Because each one contains a kernel of truth. The way you're looking at me, I'm starting to get embarrassed. And you know what happens if you get a cornball embarrassed? It says, "Aw, shucks." All right, that's better, huh? Now I'm starting to feel all warm inside. You know what happens, though, if you get a cornball too sentimental? You get corn mush. Well, you know what they call a cornball who's truly courageous to come up here and tell these jokes? They say he has true grit. We'll get to that. Well, you know how cornballs, speaking of things like this, you know how cornballs do spiritual healing? With amazing grace. Now, do you know which cornballs make the best shrinks? The ones who give you good ear. Well, you know which cornballs are most attractive to women? The ones who are husky. Now, if you think you're getting kind of sick of these cornball jokes, you better be careful. You know what happens if you make a cornball barf? You get sour mash. Now, some of you are giving me some dirty looks. You're going to hurt my feelings. And then I'd have to do myself in. And you know what you get when a cornball jumps off a 10-story building? Cream corn. Well, speaking of these yucky things, someone asked, well, where in the world did you come up with these jokes? Well, it started out with some barf and some cream corn in our living room when our dog threw up. And the wife said, well, I'll clean it up the first time. And then did it again, and it was my turn to clean it up. Well, she knew I didn't really want to do that. So she said, well, I'll do it for you. And then she said, well, I asked, well, what can I do for you if you do this for me? She said, well, just take me for a walk and tell me some of your corny jokes. Aha! So I did that and took her for a walk and started making up these corny jokes and didn't give it another thought. Then Christmas came and I was trying to think of what I could do for some Christmas presents for people, and out she brought a list of all those corny jokes I had told her, and so I made this little book. Henry Reed's 12 Cornball Jokes, 100% pure corn. Fortunately for you all, they're all out of print now. But, you know, you can make up your own cornball jokes. We found many times that if I go into a party or something and I tell a joke here and tell a joke there, people are going, yuck, 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 but then sooner or later somebody perks up, you know, with their own cornball joke, because they're really corntagious. Okay. Now, you see, sometimes you laugh and sometimes you don't laugh so much because there are various classes or categories of cornball jokes. Now, a Class A cornball joke, for those of you who are already trying to make up some of your own, a Class A cornball joke should have as its punchline a word that comes from the realm of the corn world. For example, one example of a Class A cornball joke is, what happens when you get cornballs singing in a quartet? 4-part harmony. Okay, well, once I was at a party, you know, maybe you've heard of Raymond Moody, the guy who's died and gone to heaven. Okay, well, he was at a party once, and I was throwing out these cornball jokes, and pretty soon he got kind of tired. He said he was going home. We're down in Georgia, and about a half an hour later, there was a knock on the door, and there he was, standing at the door. He wanted to come in, and he says, you know what they call a cornball who's become a psychic, don't you? I said, what? A cornflake. Okay, we all got that one. Another example of a Class A, someone said, is, you know what they call a cornball who's become a detective? A cornstalk. Okay, now, Class B cornball jokes. Class B cornball jokes are jokes where the punchline ends with a corn word, but it really has nothing to do with corn. For example, you know what they call a cornball who's gone around the bend? A corner! I love your faces. Another example would be a cornball who's determined to make it to the top. Capricorn! Yeah, okay. You know what they call the cornball's philosophy of prosperity consciousness? Cornucopia.
Darn.
Okay. What do they call a cornball who breaks your heart? A coronary. Now, you're getting it. Now, anything goes, all right. But they say when a cornball looks down their nose at you, you've been scorned. Well, you see, sometimes you're really sorry that you laughed at those jokes, but you can't help it. And that feeling, they call that cornsternation. Now that's really not a Class B cornball joke. That's technically a Class C cornball joke. Because that wasn't a corn word. It was a con word. And there's a lot of ways you can try to con your way into a cornball joke with one of those C-O-N words. Now, I had a guy who was at a party once, and he didn't say anything except pretty straight-faced the whole time. And then about 11 o'clock at night one night, the phone rings. And it was him on the phone. He says, "Henry, you know where you're going to find the most polite cornballs?" "No, where?" "In Connecticut."
You let him down.
Thinking hard. Well, you know what they call puzzles that only a cornball could solve? A cornundrum. Now, if you think by saying that, you know, Class A, Class B, Class C cornball jokes from Professor Cornball, it's getting a little bit academic, you know, my recovering from intellectualism is receding there a bit. Well, you know how you can tell when a cornball is getting a little bit too intellectual and academic? He's always flipping his tassel. We really shouldn't be classifying cornball jokes. In fact, there are some that defy categories. Like, for example, what's the science of shooting corn? Corn ballistics. Okay. Why are these cornball jokes so much fun? Because having a ball is their middle name. Okay. Well, I can tell when it's time to stop with these cornball jokes. You know how I can tell when the time has come? When you've had an earful. Okay. Now, did you have one?
I have one.
Okay.
What do you get when a cornball gets hungry?
What do you get when a cornball gets hungry?
Cornmeal.
Cornmeal. Hey.